In the frozen shadows of Redstone, Montana, a backhoe tears open a chilling secret. 16 skeletons, buried in a circle beneath a century-old church, each clutching a turquoise necklace. A blood-stained note whispers, "They killed us. Don't let them escape." Anna Whitecloud, a relentless journalist, dives into a 40-year-old mystery, uncovering a web of murder, greed, and a hidden uranium mine. Who silenced these women, and who's still watching? This story is fictional, crafted from real-world tales for education and entertainment. Stay until the end. Truth is stranger than you think. The wind howled through Redstone, Montana, a bitter January gust that cut like a knife through Jake Miller's worn Carhartt jacket. He hunched over the controls of his excavator, the machine's engine rumbling under his gloved hands, spitting diesel fumes into the icy air. The old church loomed ahead, its weathered steeple stabbing at the gray sky like a broken finger. Snow dusted the ground, piling up in drifts against the crumbling stone walls. Jake, 35 and bone-tired, had been at it since dawn, tearing up the frozen earth for the new community center. The town wanted progress, a shiny new building to replace the 100-year-old relic that had stood here forever, whispering stories nobody dared repeat. "Damn this cold," Jake muttered, his breath fogging the cab's cracked window. He glanced at the dashboard clock, 10 in the morning, and already his fingers felt like icicles. The site was quiet except for the groan of his machine and the occasional caw of a crow perched on the church's rusted cross. Redstone, a speck of a town with 5,000 souls, sat 20 miles from the nearest highway, nestled against the Blackfeet Reservation. The kind of place where everyone knew your name but kept their secrets locked tight. Jake shifted the excavator's arm, scooping another chunk of dirt from the church's foundation. The bucket hit something hard, a dull clang echoing through the cab. He frowned, easing off the controls. What the hell? He climbed down, boots crunching on the snow, and crouched to inspect the ground. The bucket had snagged on a rusted metal plate, half buried in the frozen soil. It wasn't rebar or pipe too big, too deliberate. Jake grabbed a shovel, his heart picking up a beat. He scraped away the dirt, revealing a square hatch, about 3 feet wide, sealed with a heavy padlock crusted in rust. "Hey, Mike," Jake called to his crewmate, a lanky kid barely 20, who was hauling debris to a dumpster. "Get over here. Found something weird." Mike jogged over, his breath puffing out in clouds. "What's up, man? Another busted pipe?" Jake shook his head, pointing at the hatch. "This ain't no pipe. Looks like a door or something. Buried under the church." Mike squinted, his freckled face paling. "Under the church? That's creepy as hell. You think it's like a bomb shelter?" Jake snorted, but his gut twisted. The church had always given him the creep stories of missing women, strange lights at night, whispers of curses from the old folks on the reservation. He laughed it off, chalking it up to small-town gossip. But now, staring at that hatch, the stories didn't seem so funny. "Grab the bolt cutters," Jake said, his voice low. Mike nodded and ran to the truck, returning with a pair of heavy cutters. Jake snapped the rusted lock, the metal giving way with a groan. He pried the hatch open, revealing a dark, narrow shaft descending into the earth. A musty smell wafted up, like damp stone and something sour, something wrong. "You going down there?" Mike asked, his voice shaky. Jake hesitated, peering into the blackness. "Gotta see what's what. Stay here." He grabbed a flashlight from his tool belt, its beam cutting through the gloom as he lowered himself onto a rusted ladder. The air grew colder, thicker, as he descended maybe 10 feet. His boots hit solid ground, and he swept the flashlight around. The chamber was small, no bigger than a garage, with stone walls slick with moisture. Jake's beam caught something in the center, a pile of bones, human bones, arranged in a perfect circle. 16 skulls stared back at him, their empty sockets gleaming in the light. Each skeleton clutched a turquoise necklace, the stones glinting like eyes in the dark. Jake's stomach churned, bile rising in his throat. He stumbled back, his flashlight shaking. "Jesus Christ," he whispered, his voice echoing off the walls. Then he saw a scrap of paper clutched in one bony hand, yellowed with age, stained with what looked like dried blood. Jake's hands trembled as he reached for it, his fingers brushing the brittle bones. The paper was brittle, crumbling at the edges, but the words were clear, scrawled in red ink. "They killed us. Don't let them get away." Jake's heart pounded, his breath coming in short gasps. He scrambled back up the ladder, nearly slipping in his panic. "Mike! Call the sheriff. Now!" he shouted, his voice cracking. Mike fumbled with his phone, his eyes wide. "What's down there, Jake? What'd you see?" "Bones," Jake gasped, climbing out of the hatch. "People, dead people, a whole damn circle of them." Mike's face went white. "You serious? Like, a serial killer thing?" Jake didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the hatch. He could still see those skulls, those necklaces, the blood-red words. This wasn't just a grave. It was a secret, buried deep under the church, and Jake had just ripped it open. By noon, the site was crawling with cops. Sheriff Tom Hensley, a grizzled man pushing 50 with a face like weathered leather, stood over the hatch, his jaw tight. His deputies cordoned off the area with yellow tape, keeping the growing crowd of onlookers, mostly locals from Redstone, at a distance. The wind carried their whispers, tales of the church's dark past, of women who vanished decades ago. Anna Whitecloud pulled up in her beat-up Ford pickup, her heart racing as she saw the police lights flashing against the snow. A freelance journalist from Billings, 32 and fiercely stubborn, Anna had grown up hearing stories of her great-aunt Lena, one of 16 Blackfeet women who disappeared in 1982. The official story was they'd run off, maybe joined some hippie commune or got lost in the wilderness, but Anna's family never bought it. Lena was a fighter, a leader who'd rallied her people against land grabs by some big-shot coal company. She wouldn't just vanish. Anna parked and pushed through the crowd, her boots sinking into the snow. She clutched the turquoise necklace Lena had left her, a family heirloom she always wore. Her dark eyes scanned the Senate deputies, a forensic van, and Jake Miller, looking like he'd seen a ghost, talking to Sheriff Tom. "What's going on, Jake?" Anna called, her voice sharp enough to cut through the murmurs. Jake turned, his face pale. "Anna? You don't want to see this. Found a pit or something. Under the church, full of bones." Anna's heart stopped. "Bones? How many?" 16, Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. "All women, I think. They had necklaces, like yours." Anna's hand flew to her necklace, her fingers tightening around the smooth turquoise. "Lena," she whispered, her voice breaking. She pushed past Jake, heading for the hatch, but Tom stepped in front of her, his broad frame blocking her path. "Hold up, Anna," Tom said, his voice gruff but not unkind. "This is a crime scene. Nobody's going down there till the feds get here." "Don't give me that, Tom," Anna snapped, her eyes blazing. "If those are my people down there, I have a right to know. Lena was my aunt. You gonna tell me it's not her?" Tom's face twitched, a flicker of something, guilt, fear, crossing his eyes. "We don't know who they are yet. Let the experts do their job." Anna didn't budge. "You've known about those women for years, Tom. Everyone in this town has. You're gonna stand there and act like it's news?" The crowd hushed, eyes darting between Anna and the sheriff. Tom's jaw clenched, and he leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Watch yourself, Anna. You don't know what you're stirring up." Anna held his gaze, her pulse pounding. She'd always suspected Tom knew more than he let on. He'd been a deputy back in '82, right when Lena and the others vanished. The way he avoided her questions, the way he'd shut down her family's pleas for answers, had never sat right. Before she could push further, a black SUV rolled up, kicking up snow. Dr. Sarah Nguyen, a forensic anthropologist from the University of Montana, stepped out, her sharp eyes scanning the scene. She was 40, with a no-nonsense vibe that made people straighten up. Anna had worked with her before on a story about unmarked graves on the reservation. If anyone could make sense of this, it was Sarah. "Anna," Sarah said, nodding as she approached, "heard you were here. What's the situation?" Anna gestured to the hatch. "Jake found bones, 16 sets, all women, buried under the church. I think it's Lena and the others." Sarah's face stayed calm, but her eyes narrowed. 16? That's no accident. Show me. Tom tried to protest, but Sarah waved him off, pulling on gloves and grabbing her kit. Anna followed her to the hatch, ignoring Tom's glare. The ladder creaked as Sarah descended, Anna right behind her. The air in the chamber was heavy, like breathing through a wet rag. Sarah's flashlight swept over the bones, her expression unreadable. "Jesus," Sarah muttered, crouching beside the circle. "These aren't random. Look at the arrangement, perfectly symmetrical. And these necklaces. They're Blackfeet, aren't they?" Anna nodded, her throat tight. "Just like Lena's." Sarah picked up the blood-stained paper, her gloved fingers careful. "They killed us," she read aloud, her voice steady but grim. "This isn't just a burial, it's a message." Anna's eyes burned, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Who did this, Sarah? Who buries 16 women under a church and gets away with it?" Sarah didn't answer, her flashlight lingering on a skull with a cracked temple. "Blunt force trauma," she said. "This one was hit hard. I'll need to run tests, but these women didn't die naturally." Anna's mind raced. Lena had been a firebrand, leading protests against Redstone Energy Corp., a coal company that had been sniffing around the reservation's land in the early 80s. The company had deep pockets and deeper connections, rumors of government backing, even military. Lena's group had been a thorn in their side, rallying the tribe to fight back. Then, one day, they were gone. No trace, no answers. Just whispers of runaways or accidents. "Anna," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the silence, "you need to be careful. Whoever did this didn't want these women found, and they might still be around." Anna nodded, but her eyes were locked on the paper. "Don't let them get away." She wouldn't. Not this time. Back above ground, the crowd had grown, locals whispering about curses and ghosts. Anna spotted Tommy Littlefeather, a 70-year-old elder from the reservation, standing at the edge of the tape. His weathered face was etched with grief, his eyes fixed on the hatch. Anna approached him, her voice soft. "Tommy, you knew Lena. What happened back then?" Tommy's hands trembled, clutching his cane. "You don't want to go down that road, Anna. Some things are better left buried." "Like those women?" Anna said, sharper than she meant. "They deserve better than that." Tommy looked away, his voice barely audible. "Lena and the others, they were troublemakers, in the best way. Fought for our land, our people, but they crossed the wrong folks. I saw things, Anna. Things I was told to forget." "Like what?" Anna pressed, stepping closer. Tommy's eyes darted to Tom, who was talking to a deputy. "Men in uniforms, not cops, military. They came at night, took people. I saw them at the church, loading women into trucks. I wanted to say something, but..." His voice broke. "They said my family would pay if I talked." Anna's blood ran cold. "Military? At the church?" She glanced at Tom, who was watching them now, his hand resting on his holster. Something glinted in his other hand, a small object he quickly tucked into his pocket. A key? A token? Whatever it was, it didn't belong at a crime scene. Before Anna could ask more, Sarah climbed out of the hatch, her face grim. "We're dealing with a mass murder," she said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. "I'm calling in a full forensic team. Nobody touches this site until we're done." Tom stepped forward, his voice tight. "This is my jurisdiction, Dr. Nguyen. You don't get to call the shots." Sarah didn't flinch. 16 dead women say otherwise, Sheriff. "You want to argue? Take it up with the FBI." The crowd buzzed, and Anna felt the weight of their eyes on her. She was no stranger to Redstone's Historyland disputes, broken treaties, missing people written off as runaways. But this was bigger, darker. The kind of secret that could tear a town apart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the church, Anna's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop digging, or you'll end up like them." Her heart pounded, but she didn't look away from the hatch. Somewhere down there, Lena's voice was calling, and Anna was going to answer. Anna Whitecloud's truck rattled down Main Street, the turquoise necklace around her neck bouncing against her chest with every pothole. Redstone, Montana, was a ghost of a town at dusk, its 5,000 souls tucked away in clapboard houses or drowning their sorrows at Rusty's bar. The church loomed in her rearview mirror, its silhouette a jagged scar against the fading sky. That text from last night, "Stop digging, or you'll end up like them," still burned in her mind, each word a splinter under her skin. She gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles whitening. Whoever sent it knew she wasn't backing down. She pulled into the parking lot of the Redstone Public Library, a squat brick building that smelled of mildew and old paper. The library was her first stop, a place to hunt for answers about Lena and the 15 other women buried under that cursed church. Anna's boots echoed on the linoleum floor as she pushed through the glass doors, the necklace heavy against her heart. Lena had been a fighter, a Blackfeet woman, who'd rallied her people against Redstone Energy Corp back in 1982. Anna had grown up on stories of her great aunt's fire, her refusal to bow to the coal company's land grabs. Now, those stories felt like clues. The librarian, Mrs. Carter, a wiry woman in her 60s with glasses perched on her nose, looked up from her desk. "Anna Whitecloud? Haven't seen you in years. What brings you back?" "Need to dig through some old records," Anna said, keeping her voice steady. "Anything from the early 80s, especially about the reservation or the church." Mrs. Carter's smile faltered. "That's a long time ago. Most of that stuff's in the basement, gathering dust. You sure you want to go poking around?" Anna nodded, ignoring the unease in the older woman's eyes. "I'm sure." The basement was a maze of sagging shelves and cardboard boxes, lit by flickering fluorescents. Anna's flashlight cut through the shadows as she scanned labels, her fingers brushing over faded ink. She found a box marked Reservation Records, 1980 to 1985, and hauled it to a rickety table. Dust puffed into the air as she opened it, revealing stacks of yellowed papers, newspaper clippings, and a small leather-bound book tied with a cord. Her heart skipped. The book's cover was etched with the same turquoise stone design as her necklace. She untied the cord, her hands trembling, and flipped it open. The handwriting was unmistakable Lena's, sharp and slanted, like she was always in a hurry. The first page read, "They're watching us. The man in the shadows, always with his camera. He knows we're close to the truth about the land." Anna's breath caught. She skimmed the pages, each entry more frantic than the last. Lena wrote about protests, about Redstone Energy Corp's push to drill on Blackfeet land, about secret meetings with government suits who promised protection, but delivered threats. One entry, dated October 1982, sent a chill down her spine. "The man in the uniform came to the church last night. He had a camera, military issue. Said if we didn't stop, we'd regret it. I saw his face, cold eyes, like a wolf. He's not alone." Anna clutched the journal, her mind racing. A military man with a camera? That wasn't just some local thug. She tucked the journal into her jacket and kept digging, pulling out a brittle newspaper clipping from the Redstone Gazette, November 1982. The headline screamed, "16 Blackfeet women missing, authorities baffled." The article was short, dismissive, claiming the women likely left the reservation voluntarily. Anna's jaw tightened. Voluntarily? Lena would have died before abandoning her people. Her phone buzzed, jolting her. Another text, same unknown number. "You're asking too many questions." Anna's pulse hammered, but she shoved the phone back in her pocket. She wasn't stopping, not now. She grabbed the box and headed upstairs, determined to get the journal to Dr. Sarah Nguyen. Sarah's lab at the University of Montana was a 40-mile drive from Redstone, through winding roads flanked by snow-dusted pines. Anna's truck growled as she pushed it hard, the journal burning a hole in her passenger seat. She'd called Sarah an hour ago, and the forensic anthropologist's voice had been sharp, urgent. "Bring it to me, Anna. If that journal's legit, it's a game changer." The lab was a sterile white room, packed with microscopes, computers, and a table covered with the bones from the church. Sarah, her dark hair pulled back, was hunched over a skull, her gloved hands moving with surgical precision. She looked up as Anna burst in, holding the journal like a lifeline. "Found something," Anna said, slamming the book on the table. "Lena's journal talks about a man in a uniform, someone watching them. Military." Sarah's eyes narrowed, flicking to the journal. "Slow down. You're saying your aunt wrote about being stalked?" "Not just stalked," Anna said, flipping to the October entry. "Threatened by someone with a camera connected to the church and Redstone Energy. Read it." Sarah scanned the page, her face unreadable but her fingers tightening on the paper. "This is big, Anna. If this guy was military, we're not just talking a local cover-up, but we need more than a journal to prove it." Anna gestured to the bones. "What about them? You find anything yet?" Sarah nodded, her voice low. "These women didn't die easy. Every skull shows trauma-cracked temples, fractured jaws. Someone beat them, hard, in the way they were arranged, in that circle. It's deliberate, almost ritualistic. Whoever did this wanted it to mean something." Anna's stomach twisted. "Mean something? Like what?" Sarah hesitated, her eyes flicking to the door. "I don't know yet, but I found something else." She pulled a plastic bag from her desk, holding up a small metal tag, rusted but legible. This was tangled in one of the necklaces. It's a military ID tag, dated 1982. Name scratched out, but the unit's clear. Silent Spring. Anna's breath hitched. Silent Spring? What's that? No idea, Sarah admitted. But it's not standard army. Sounds like a Black Ops unit. Something off the books. I'm running it through a contact at the Pentagon, but it'll take time. Anna paced, her mind spinning. Military tags, a secret unit, Lena's journal, it was all connected. But how? And why under the church? She stopped, her eyes locking on the bones. Sarah, you think they were killed there, in that chamber? Sarah shook her head. Doubt it. The chamber's too clean. No bloodstains or tools. They were moved there, buried after the fact. Whoever did this knew how to cover their tracks. Anna's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, her blood running cold. Another text. You're not safe. Neither is she. She showed it to Sarah, whose face hardened. We need to move fast, Sarah said, grabbing her coat. Let's get to Tommy Littlefeather. If he saw something back then, he's our best shot at answers. Tommy's trailer sat on the edge of the Blackfeet Reservation, a rusted hulk surrounded by snow-covered sagebrush. The old man was waiting when Anna and Sarah pulled up, his weathered face etched with fear. He leaned on his cane, his eyes darting to the darkening horizon. Shouldn't have come, Tommy muttered, as they stepped inside. The trailer smelled of tobacco and wood smoke, its walls lined with faded photos of powwows and family. You're stirring up ghosts, Anna. I'm stirring up the truth. Anna shot back, setting Lena's journal on the table. You knew Lena. You said you saw men in uniforms at the church. Tell me everything. Tommy sank into a chair, his hands shaking. You don't get it, girl. Those men weren't just soldiers. They were shadows, moving in the night. Came to the reservation, to the church, in 1982. Loaded Lena and the others into trucks. I was there, hiding like a coward. Sarah leaned forward, her voice sharp. What kind of trucks? Military? Police? Tommy's eyes flicked to the window. Unmarked. Black, with no plates. The man leading him, he had cold eyes, like he'd kill you just for looking at him. Carried a camera, always snapping pictures. Said it was for records. Anna's heart pounded. The man in Lena's journal. Did he have a name? Tommy hesitated, his voice dropping to a whisper. Harrington. John Harrington. Said he was with some government outfit, but he wasn't no regular soldier. He scared the hell out of everyone, even the preacher. Anna exchanged a glance with Sarah. Harrington, the name on the military tag? She pulled out her phone, showing Tommy the text messages. Someone's trying to shut me up, Tommy. You know who? Tommy's face paled. They never stopped watching, Anna. After Lena and the others disappeared, folks started saying the church was cursed. People saw lights at night, heard screams. I thought it was just talk, but now, he trailed off, his eyes fixed on the journal. Sarah stood, her voice urgent. We need to find out what Silent Spring was. If Harrington was part of it, there's got to be records somewhere. Anna nodded, but her gut twisted. The texts, the bones, Tommy's fear, it all pointed to something bigger, something still alive in Redstone. She grabbed the journal, ready to leave, when Tommy's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. Don't go to the church alone, he said, his voice hoarse. That place, it's not what you think. It's got secrets deeper than those bones. Anna pulled free, her jaw tight. I'm not afraid of secrets, Tommy. I'm afraid of letting Lena down. The church was a black silhouette against the starry sky as Anna and Sarah drove back to Redstone. The 40-mile trip had been silent, the weight of Tommy's words hanging between them. Anna's truck idled outside the police tape, the church's broken windows staring like empty eyes. Sarah checked her phone, frowning. My Pentagon contact got back to me, she said. Silent Spring was a classified operation, shut down in 1985. Something about security threats on native lands. No details, but they're nervous, I'm asking. Anna's grip tightened on the wheel. Security threats? You mean people like Lena, fighting for their own land? Sarah nodded. Sounds like it. We need to get into the church, see if there's anything else down there. Anna hesitated. Tommy's warning echoed in her head, but so did Lena's words in the journal. She killed the engine and grabbed a flashlight. Let's do it, he's fine. The church's front door creaked as they slipped inside, the air thick with dust and decay. Their flashlights danced over pews and cracked stained glass, casting eerie shadows. Anna led the way to the hatch, her heart pounding. The ladder groaned under their weight as they descended into the chamber. Sarah swept her light over the walls, her voice low. Look at this. She pointed to faint scratches in the stone, forming a pattern, a circle with a cross inside, like a Blackfeet sun symbol. This wasn't here yesterday. Anna's skin prickled. You think someone's been down here? Before Sarah could answer, a loud thud echoed above, like a door slamming. Anna froze, her flashlight shaking. What was that? Sarah grabbed her arm, whispering, Someone's here. They climbed back up, moving silently. The church was dark, but Anna's light caught a glint of metal near the altar, a small key, engraved with the same sun symbol. She reached for it, but a shadow moved in the corner of her eye. A figure, tall and cloaked in darkness, stood at the far end of the church. Who's there? Anna called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it turned and vanished through a side door, leaving only the echo of footsteps. Anna's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it, her blood turning to ice. A new text. You were warned. Anna Whitecloud's heart thudded like a drum as she clutched the small, cold key she'd found by the altar. The church's air felt thick, oppressive, like it was pressing down on her lungs. The shadow that had vanished through the side door left an echo of menace in its wake. And that last text, you were warned, burned in her mind like a brand. She glanced at Sarah and Wynne, whose sharp eyes were scanning the darkened pews, her flashlight beam slicing through the gloom. We need to get out of here, Sarah whispered, her voice taut. Whoever that was, they know we're poking around. Anna shook her head, her jaw tight. Not yet. This key means something. It's got the same sun symbol as the scratches in the chamber. We're close, Sarah. I can feel it. Sarah's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't argue. She knew Anna's type, stubborn as a mule, driven by something deeper than fear. Fine, she said, but we move fast. This place gives me the creeps. They crept toward the altar, their boots soft on the creaky floorboards. The church smelled of rotting wood and old incense, a stale reminder of its days as Redstone's heart. Anna's flashlight caught the glint of the keys engraving a circle with a cross, a Blackfeet symbol for the sun, for life. Lena had worn a pendant with that same design. Anna's fingers tightened around it, her pulse racing. This wasn't just a key, it was a breadcrumb, left by someone, Lena herself. The altar was a heavy oak slab, carved with faded crosses and draped in a dusty cloth. Anna ran her hands along its edges, searching for anything out of place. Her fingers brushed a small groove, barely noticeable, hidden in the wood's grain. She pressed the key into it, and a faint click echoed in the silence. Sarah froze. What was that? Anna didn't answer, pushing harder. A panel in the altar's base slid open, revealing a narrow compartment. Inside was a metal box, rusted and dented, about the size of a shoebox. Anna's hand shook as she pulled it out, her flashlight illuminating a faded label, property of St. Mary's Church, 1982. Jackpot, Sarah muttered, but her voice held an edge of dread. Anna pried the box open, the hinges squealing. Inside were papers yellowed, brittle, smelling of mold. She unfolded the top sheet, a ledger page filled with tight, neat handwriting. It listed payments, hundreds of thousands of dollars, from Redstone Energy Corp. To Father Michael Westridge, the church's priest in 1982. Each entry was dated, starting in January of that year, with notes like, services rendered and special handling. Services? Anna said, her voice low. What the hell was Westridge doing for a coal company? Sarah leaned over, scanning the ledger. Look at the amounts. 50,000 here, 75 there. This isn't chump change. He was on their payroll. Anna's stomach churned. Lena's journal had mentioned Redstone Energy pushing to drill on Blackfeet land, and now this a preacher taking dirty money. She flipped through more pages, finding a folded letter tucked in the back. The paper was crisp, like it had been sealed away from time. The words were typed, official, from a Redstone Energy executive to Westridge. The situation must be contained. The women are a threat to the operation. Ensure their silence, and your compensation will reflect our gratitude. Anna's blood ran cold. They paid him to shut them up, she said, her voice shaking with rage. Lena and the others they were targeted. Sarah grabbed the letter, her eyes narrowing. This is evidence, Anna. We need to get this to the feds. Before Anna could respond, her flashlight caught something else in the box, a small, black case, like one for a camera. She opened it, revealing an old military-issue camera, its lens scratched but intact, and a single roll of undeveloped film. Her heart skipped. This could be it, she said. The camera Lena wrote about. The man in the shadows. Sarah nodded, but her face was grim. We need to develop this, now. They slipped the box and its contents into Anna's backpack, their movements quick and quiet. The church felt alive, its shadows shifting like they were watching. Anna's phone buzzed again, but she ignored it, her focus on the side door where the figure had vanished. Let's check that exit, she said. Whoever was here might have left something. The side door led to a narrow hallway, lined with cracked plaster and cobwebs. At the end was a staircase, descending into darkness. Anna's flashlight revealed dust-covered steps, undisturbed except for fresh boot prints too big to be theirs. Sarah grabbed her arm. Anna, this is a bad idea. No. We're already in deep, Anna said, her voice steady, despite the fear clawing at her chest. We follow the trail. The stairs led to a basement, a damp, cavernous space with stone walls and a dirt floor. Anna's light caught glints of metal-rusted chains bolted to the walls, stained with what looked like blood. Her breath hitched. This is where they kept them, she whispered. Lena, the others, they were here. Sarah's face was pale, her flashlight trembling. Look at this. She pointed to a corner, where a pile of old clothes lay, crumpled beaded jackets, woven belts, all Blackfeet designs. Personal items, left behind like ghosts. Anna knelt, her fingers brushing a jacket with a sun symbol stitched into the fabric. They didn't just kill them, she said, her voice breaking. They stripped them of everything. A soft scrape echoed behind them, like a foot on stone. Anna spun, her flashlight catching nothing but shadows. Who's there? She called, her voice sharp. No answer, but the air grew colder, heavier. Sarah grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the stairs. We're not alone. Move. They scrambled up, hearts pounding, and burst back into the church's main hall. The side door was ajar, Swaying in the wind, Anna's phone buzzed again, and this time she checked it. A new text. You can't run from the truth, but it can run from you. The next morning, Anna and Sarah sat in a diner on the edge of Redstone, the kind of place where coffee was strong and the jukebox played Johnny Cash. The film from the camera was at a lab in Billings, being developed by a friend of Sarah's who owed her a favor. Anna sipped her coffee, her eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. The ledger and letter were spread out on the table, hidden under a newspaper to avoid prying eyes. We've got enough to blow this wide open, Anna said, her voice low. Westridge was dirty, taking money to silence Lena and the others. But who's sending these texts? Someone's still protecting that secret. Sarah nodded, her face grim. The camera's our best shot. If those photos show what I think, we'll have faces, maybe names. But we need to talk to Tommy again. He mentioned Harrington. We need to know what he saw. Anna agreed, but her gut twisted. Tommy's fear last night had been palpable, like he was staring down a ghost. She glanced out the diner's window, catching a glimpse of a black pickup parked across the street. No plates, just like Tommy had described. Her heart skipped. Sarah, don't look now, but we're being watched. Sarah's eyes flicked to the window, then back to Anna. Keep cool. We'll deal with it after we see Tommy. They paid the bill and drove to the reservation, the pickup trailing them at a distance. Tommy's trailer was quiet, the door slightly ajar. Anna's stomach dropped as she pushed it open, calling, Tommy, you here? The trailer was a mess, furniture overturned, photos torn from the walls. Tommy sat slumped in his chair, his cane on the floor, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. He was alive, but barely, his breath shallow. Tommy. Anna knelt beside him, checking his pulse. What happened? His eyes fluttered open, glassy with pain. They came, last night, he rasped. After you left, said I talked too much. Took my old letters. Lena's letters. Sarah grabbed a cloth, pressing it to his wound. Who? Tommy. Who did this? Harrington's men, he whispered. Not him, but his kind, military. They know you're close, Anna. The church. It's not just a church, it's their vault. Anna's mind raced. A vault? For what? She helped Tommy sit up, her voice urgent. Tell me everything, Tommy. No more secrets. Tommy's hands shook, his voice barely audible. The church was their base. Back in '82, they used it to hold people, activists, troublemakers. Lena and the others, they were locked in that basement. I saw him, Anna. Chained up, screaming. Harrington was there, giving orders. Said it was for national security. Anna's blood boiled. National security? They were fighting for our land. Tommy nodded, wincing. They knew too much. About the land, the company, something big. I heard him talk about a mine, not just coal, something secret. They killed him to keep it quiet. Sarah's phone buzzed, and she checked it, her face paling. The lab got the film developed. They're sending the photos now. Anna helped Tommy to the couch, her mind spinning. A secret mine? Harrington's men still active? She glanced at Sarah, who was staring at her phone, her hands trembling. What is it? Sarah turned the screen to Anna. The photos were grainy, but unmistakable. 16 women, bound and gagged, in the church's basement. Their faces were etched with fear, but Lena's eyes burned with defiance. Standing over them was a man in a military uniform, his face clear in the dim light-cold eyes, sharp jaw, a wolfish grin. John Harrington. And beside him, in a priest's collar, was Father Michael Westridge. Anna's heart stopped. It's them, proof. But the last photo was worse. It showed the women's bodies, stacked in the chamber, their necklaces glinting in the flash. And in the background, barely visible, was another figure, a younger man, in a deputy's uniform, watching. Anna's breath caught. She knew that face. Tom, she whispered. Sheriff Tom Hensley. Sarah's eyes widened. The sheriff? He was there? Anna nodded, her voice shaking. He was a deputy in '82. He knew. He's been hiding it all this time. They turned to Tommy, but his eyes were closed, his breathing shallow. Anna grabbed her phone, dialing for an ambulance, but a loud crash outside stopped her cold. The black pickup was parked in front of the trailer, its engine running. A man stepped out, his face hidden in the shadow of a hood, and tossed something through the trailer's window. It hit the floor with a Thuda Molotov cocktail, its fuse sparking. "Get down!" Sarah shouted, pulling Anna to the floor as the bottle exploded, flames licking the walls. Anna grabbed Tommy, dragging him toward the back door as the fire roared, consuming the trailer. They stumbled into the snow, coughing, the heat searing their backs. The pickup's tires screeched as it sped off, leaving a trail of smoke. Anna's phone buzzed in her pocket, and she checked it with trembling hands. A final text. "Next time, you burn." Anna Whitecloud's lungs burned as she dragged Tommy Littlefeather through the snow, the trailer behind them a roaring inferno. Flames licked the night sky, casting an orange glow over the Blackfeet Reservation. Saren Wynn stumbled beside her, coughing, her face smudged with soot. The black pickup's taillights vanished down the dirt road, leaving only the crackle of fire and the wail of distant sirens. Anna's phone was a dead weight in her pocket, that last text. "Next time, you burn," searing her mind like the flames eating Tommy's home. "Keep moving," Sarah gasped, helping Anna support Tommy's frail frame. The old man's head lolled, his blood-streaked face pale under the moonlight. "We gotta get him to safety." Anna nodded, her heart pounding. "My truck's 50 yards out. Hurry." They half-carried, half-dragged Tommy through the snow, his weight heavy despite his thin build. Anna's eyes darted to the shadows, half expecting another Molotov cocktail to come flying. Whoever was behind this wasn't playing games, they'd just tried to burn them alive. They reached Anna's Ford pickup, its dented hood glinting under a street lamp. Anna eased Tommy into the back seat, his breathing shallow but steady. Sarah climbed in beside him, checking his pulse. "He's stable, but that gash needs stitches. We need a hospital now." Anna slid behind the wheel, her hand shaking as she turned the key. The engine growled to life, and she floored it, kicking up gravel as they sped toward Redstone's clinic, 10 miles away. "Those bastards knew we were there," she said, her voice tight. "They're watching us, Sarah. Harrington's men, or whoever's left of them." Sarah's face was grim in the rearview mirror. That photo Tom Hensley in the background. If he was there in '82, he's not just a bystander, he's part of this. Anna's jaw clenched. Sheriff Tom Hensley, the man who'd stonewalled her family for decades, had been at the church when Lena and the others were killed. The photo was proof, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. "We need more," she said. "Something that ties him to Harrington and Redstone Energy. Something they can't bury." Sarah leaned forward, her voice low. "The ledger mentioned payments to Westridge, but I bet there's more. If Tom was involved, he's got records somewhere. Deputies don't get paid to keep quiet without a paper trail." Anna nodded, her eyes fixed on the road. The clinic's lights came into view, a small brick building on the edge of Redstone. She pulled into the lot, tires screeching, and helped Sarah carry Tommy inside. The nurse on duty, a tired-looking woman named Maggie, took one look at Tommy and called for a doctor. Anna paced the waiting room, her mind racing. The fire, the texts, the photo of Tomet was all closing in, a noose tightening around her neck. Sarah sat beside her, scrolling through her phone. My Pentagon contact sent another email. Silent Spring was a black ops unit, funded off the books in the early '80s. They targeted domestic threats code for anyone who pissed off the government or big business. Harrington was a key player, but there's no record of him after '85. Either he's dead, or he went dark. Anna's stomach twisted. Dead men don't send goons to burn trailers. Exactly, Sarah said. We need to check Tom's place. If he's hiding something, it's there. Anna hesitated, the memory of the fire still raw. But Sarah was right. Tom was the link, and his secrets were the key to unraveling this. "All right," she said. "But we need backup. Someone who knows the town, who's seen things." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "You got someone in mind?" Anna nodded, pulling out her phone. "Clara Hensley. Tom's daughter. She's a social worker, works with the reservation. If anyone knows what Tom's hiding, it's her." Clara Hensley's apartment was a cramped unit above Rusty's bar, the kind of place where the jukebox's hum seeped through the floorboards. Anna and Sarah climbed the rickety stairs, the smell of stale beer and cigarette smoke thick in the air. Clara opened the door, her 28-year-old face drawn, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She wore a faded Montana State sweatshirt, her eyes wary as they landed on Anna. "Anna Whitecloud?" Clara said, her voice cautious. "What do you want?" "It's late. We need to talk," Anna said, stepping inside without waiting for an invite. The apartment was cluttered books, papers, a half-empty coffee mug on the table. "About your dad." "In 1982. Clara's face tightened, her arms crossing. "I don't know anything about that. Dad doesn't talk about the old days." Anna pulled out the photo from the church, the one showing Tom in his deputy uniform, watching as Lena and the others were stacked like firewood. She slapped it on the table. "He was there, Clara. When 16 women were murdered, you gonna tell me you never suspected?" Clara's eyes widened, her hand trembling as she picked up the photo. This can't be right. Dad's a lot of things, but a killer?" "Not a killer," Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. "A witness, maybe an accomplice. He was a deputy back then, working under Harrington. We think he's hiding something, papers, records, something that ties him to Redstone Energy." Clara sank into a chair, her face pale. I saw something once. Years ago, when I was a kid, Dad kept a locked box in the garage, old and rusted. I snuck in, found it open one day. There were papers, photos, stuff about the reservation. I saw a picture of women, like the ones you're talking about. Dad caught me, flipped out, said it was none of my business." Anna leaned forward, her voice urgent. "Where's that box now?" Clara hesitated, her eyes flicking to the window. "Still in the garage, I think. He never got rid of it, but he's my dad, Anna. What if you're wrong?" "I'm not," Anna said, her voice hard. "Those women were my family. Lena was my aunt. I need to know what he's hiding." Clara's shoulders slumped, but she nodded. "All right. I'll take you there, but if Dad finds out, he'll lose it." Tom Hensley's house was a mile outside Redstone, a squat ranch-style place with peeling paint and a sagging porch. The garage was detached, its doors secured with a padlock. Anna, Sarah, and Clara crept through the darkness, the snow crunching under their boots. Clara's key turned in the lock, the door creaking as they slipped inside. The air smelled of oil and dust, the garage cluttered with tools and old furniture. "There," Clara whispered, pointing to a shelf in the corner. A rusted metal box sat tucked behind a stack of tires, its surface scratched but sturdy. Anna's heart raced as she pulled it free, the weight heavy in her hands. She forced the lid open, revealing a mess of papers, photos, and a small leather notebook. Sarah grabbed the notebook, flipping it open. "It's a log," she said, her voice low. "Dates, names, locations. Look, October 82. Transport complete. 16 subjects secured. Harrington orders disposal." Anna's blood ran cold. "Disposal? They're talking about Lena and the others." Clara's voice shook. "Dad wrote this?" Sarah nodded, pointing to Tom's initials scrawled at the bottom. "He was in deep, but look at this." She pulled out a typed document, stamped with a military seal. "Operation Silent Spring. Objective: neutralize threats to resource extraction on native lands. Authorized by Department of Defense, 1982. Harrington's name is all over it." Anna's hands trembled as she sifted through the photos. One showed a group of men in suits, standing outside the church, shaking hands with Harrington. Another showed a map of the reservation, marked with red X drilling sites. Maybe. But the last photo stopped her cold. Tom, younger, in his deputy uniform, loading a crate into a black truck with no plates. Behind him, the church's steeple loomed. He knew, Anna whispered. He helped them. Clara's eyes filled with tears. He wasn't always like this. He used to talk about protecting people. What happened to him? Fear, Sarah said, her voice grim. Or greed. Either way, he's been carrying this for 40 years. Anna's phone buzzed, and she checked it, her heart stopping. Another text. You're digging your own grave. She showed it to Sarah, who cursed under her breath. We need to get this to the feds before they come for us. But Clara shook her head, her voice breaking. You don't get it. Dad's not the mastermind. He was scared, Anna. I heard him talking once, years ago, to someone on the phone. He said, Harrington's still out there. If I talk, he'll kill me. Anna's blood ran cold. Harrington's alive? Clara nodded, wiping her eyes. Dad's terrified of him, always has been. Before Anna could respond, headlights swept across the garage windows. A black pickup pulled into the driveway, its engine idling. Anna's heart pounded. Clara, is that your dad? Clara peered through a crack in the door, her face paling. Number, that's not his truck. Sarah grabbed the box, shoving it into Anna's backpack. Move, now. They slipped out the back, crouching low as they darted through the snow toward Anna's truck, parked 100 yards down the road. The pickup's door slammed, and heavy boots crunched toward the garage. Anna glanced back, catching a glimpse of a tall figure in a hooded jacket, a glint of metal in his hand-a-gun. They reached the truck, piling in as Anna gunned the engine. The tires spun, kicking up snow, and they tore down the road. In the rearview mirror, the pickup followed, its headlights like predator's eyes. Anna's hands gripped the wheel, her pulse racing. They're tailing us. Sarah twisted in her seat, her voice sharp. Lose them. Head for Rusty's Burrito Public. They won't try anything there. Anna swerved onto Main Street, the pickup staying close. The bar's neon sign glowed ahead, a beacon in the dark. She screeched into the lot, parking between two cars, and they scrambled inside, the box clutched tight. The bar was packed, locals nursing beers and shooting pool. Anna's eyes darted to the door, expecting the hooded man to burst in. Clara sank into a booth, her face pale. What have I done? If Dad finds out I helped you. Anna grabbed her shoulder, her voice firm. You did the right thing. Those women deserve justice. Your dad's part of this, but you're not. A grizzled man at the bar turned, his eyes narrowing as he overheard. Eddie Blackbear, 60, with a scarred face and a limp from his days as a Marine, leaned over. You talking about the church, Anna Whitecloud? Anna hesitated, then nodded. You know something, Eddie? He took a swig of his beer, his voice low. Worked security for Redstone Energy back in the day. Saw things I ain't proud of. Trucks coming and going at night, heading to the church. Women your aunt, others loaded up like cargo. I wanted to say something, but they had guns, Anna. Said my kids would pay if I talked. Anna's heart sank. You saw Lena? Eddie nodded, his eyes haunted. She fought like hell. Screamed they'd never break her. Harrington was there, calling the shots, cold as ice. Sarah leaned in, her voice urgent. Where'd they take them, Eddie? After the church? Eddie shook his head. Don't know. Somewhere off the reservation, out in the hills. There's an old warehouse, 10 miles north, near the old coal pits. Nobody goes there anymore. Too many ghost stories. Anna's mind raced. A warehouse? Could that be where Lena and the others were killed? She glanced at Sarah, who nodded. We need to check it out. Tomorrow. But Clara grabbed Anna's arm, her voice trembling. You can't. If Harrington's alive, he's watching. And Dad. He's not safe either. Anna's phone buzzed again, and she checked it, her blood turning to ice. A photo, this time a grainy shot of her truck, taken minutes ago in the bar's parking lot. No text, just the image, a silent threat. She showed it to Sarah and Eddie, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her. They're not just watching, they're here. Eddie stood, his limp pronounced, as he grabbed his coat. I know that warehouse. I'll take you there, Anna. But we're gonna need more than guts to walk out alive. Anna nodded, her eyes fixed on the door. The bar's noise faded, replaced by the pounding of her heart. Outside, the pickup's headlights flashed once, then went dark. Someone was waiting, and they weren't done with her yet. Anna Whitecloud's breath fogged in the chilly night air as she crouched behind a dumpster in the parking lot of Rusty's bar, her heart hammering like a jackhammer. The neon sign buzzed above, casting a sickly red glow over her truck, parked 50 feet away. Sarah Wynn and Eddie Blackbear were beside her, their faces tense, eyes locked on the black pickup idling across the street. Clara Hensley huddled close, her hands trembling, clutching the rusted metal box they'd taken from her father's garage. That last photo on Anna's phony one of her truck, snapped minutes ago, hung over them like a guillotine. Someone was out there, watching, waiting to make good on their threats. "We can't stay here," Sarah whispered, her voice sharp as a blade. "They know we're onto them. That warehouse Eddie mentioned, it's our next move." "Huh." Eddie, his scarred face grim under the bar's flickering light, nodded. 10 miles north, out by the old coal pits. Nobody goes there. Too many stories, ghosts, screams in the night. But I saw trucks heading that way in '82, loaded with crates. Could be where they took Lena and the others. Anna's grip tightened on the turquoise necklace around her neck, Lena's necklace. The thought of her great aunt, chained in some forgotten warehouse, made her stomach churn. "Then we go tonight," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "Before they come for us again." Clara's eyes widened, her voice a shaky whisper. "Tonight? Anna, they just tried to burn us alive at Tommy's. What if they're waiting out there?" "Then we face them," Anna said, her jaw tight. "Lena fought for our land, our people. I'm not letting her down now." Sarah pulled out her phone, checking for updates from her lab contact. "The photos from the church's camera are still being analyzed, but I got a lead on Silent Spring. My Pentagon guy says it wasn't just about land grabs. They were protecting something bigger, a classified project tied to Redstone Energy. Something about a mine, not coal. Uranium." Anna's heart skipped. "Uranium? On the reservation?" Sarah nodded, her face grim. "Explains why they'd kill to keep it quiet. A secret uranium mine in the '80s? That's government-level cover-up, Anna. Harrington wasn't just some grunt, he was running point for something huge." Eddie's eyes darkened. "I heard whispers back then, working security for Redstone. They'd talk about special shipments, guarded by guys in suits, not miners. I thought it was just coal, but uranium makes sense. Dangerous stuff, worth killing for." Anna's mind raced. Lena's journal had mentioned a truth the women were close to uncovering, something that made them a threat. A uranium mine on Blackfeet land, hidden from the tribe, would have been a bombshell. No wonder they were silenced. She stood, her resolve hardening. "We're going to that warehouse. If there's proof, it's there." Sarah grabbed her arm, her voice low. "We need to be smart, Anna. Whoever's sending those texts, they're not amateurs. We need a plan." Anna nodded, glancing at Clara. "You in?" Clara hesitated, her eyes darting to the pickup across the street. I don't know. My dad's mixed up in this, but he's still my dad. If we find something, it could destroy him." Anna softened, resting a hand on Clara's shoulder. "He made his choices, Clara. You're not him. Help us make this right for Lena, for all of them." Clara swallowed hard, then nodded. "Okay, let's do it." They slipped out the back of the bar, avoiding the pickup's line of sight, and piled into Anna's truck. The engine roared as they peeled out, heading north toward the coal pits. The road was a winding ribbon of asphalt, flanked by snow-covered hills and skeletal trees. Anna's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, half expecting headlights to appear. For now, the road was empty, but the silence felt like a trap. The warehouse was a hulking relic, 10 miles from Redstone, squatting in a valley littered with abandoned mining equipment. Its rusted metal walls groaned in the wind, and broken windows stared like empty sockets. Anna parked 100 yards away, killing the headlights. The group moved silently, flashlights off, guided by moonlight. Eddie led the way, his limp pronounced, but his steps sure. Used to guard this place, he whispered, his breath clouding. Back entrances around the side. Less chance of being seen. They crept along the warehouse's perimeter, the snow muffling their steps. Anna's heart pounded, the weight of the metal box in her backpack grounding her. Inside were Tom's notebook, the ledger, and the photos proof of a 40-year-old crime. But they needed more, something undeniable to bring down Harrington and Redstone Energy. The back door was a slab of rusted steel, its lock long broken. Eddie pushed it open, the hinges screeching like a scream in the quiet. Inside, the warehouse was a cavern of shadows, its air thick with dust and the faint tang of chemicals. Anna's flashlight swept over crates, some splintered, others sealed tight, stacked against the walls. In the center, a trapdoor in the concrete floor caught her eye, its edges marked with the same sun symbol from the church. Down there, Anna said, her voice low, that's where we'll find it. Sarah hesitated, her flashlight lingering on the trapdoor. This feels like a setup, Anna. Too easy. Easy? Anna said, her voice sharp. They burned Tommy's trailer. They're hunting us. Nothing about this is easy. Eddie knelt by the trapdoor, prying it open with a crowbar from his pack. The hinges groaned, revealing a ladder descending into darkness. Anna went first, her boots clanging on the rungs. The air below was damp, sour, like a grave. Her flashlight revealed a concrete chamber, maybe 30 feet wide, with rusted chains bolted to the walls. Scratched into one wall were words, carved deep, "We will not be forgotten." Anna's throat tightened. This is it, where they kept them. Sarah climbed down, her face pale. Look at the chains, same as the church basement. They were held here before they were moved. Clara, last down, gasped, pointing to a corner, a pile of personal items, beaded necklaces, woven belts, a child's toy lay scattered, covered in dust. They left their things, she whispered, like they knew they weren't coming back. Eddie's voice was hoarse. I saw him bring crates here, Anna. Never knew what was in them. Now, I think I do. Before Anna could respond, Sarah's phone pinged, a harsh sound in the quiet. She checked it, her eyes widening. My lab contact sent the last of the photos. There's audio to a tape from the camera case. Anna's heart raced. Play it. Sarah hit play, and a crackling voice filled the chamber. It was low, commanding, unmistakably Harrington's. These women are a problem, Michael. They found the uranium vein. If they talk, the whole operation's blown. Dispose of them. No loose ends. Another voice, Westridge's, nervous but compliant. I'll handle it, John. The church is secure. Nobody'll look there. The tape cut off, leaving a heavy silence. Anna's hand shook, rage and grief warring inside her. They knew about the uranium, she said. Lena and the others, they were killed to protect a mine. Sarah nodded, her voice grim. This is bigger than we thought. The government, Redstone Energy, they buried 16 women to keep that secret. Clara's eyes were wet, her voice breaking. My dad, he helped them, didn't he? Before Anna could answer, a loud thud echoed above, followed by the screech of tires. Headlights swept through the warehouse's broken windows, pinning them in their glare. Anna's heart stopped. They found us. Sarah grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the ladder. Move. But it was too late. The trapdoor slammed shut, the sound like a gunshot. Anna's flashlight flickered, then died, plunging them into darkness. Footsteps echoed above, heavy and deliberate. A man's voice, cold and familiar, cut through the silence. You should have listened, Anna Whitecloud. Anna's blood ran cold. Harrington, he was alive. The chamber felt like a tomb as Anna, Sarah, Clara, and Eddie pressed against the walls, their breath shallow. The footsteps above stopped, replaced by the scrape of metal on concrete. Anna's mind raced, searching for a way out. The ladder was their only exit, and it was blocked. Her hand brushed the turquoise necklace, grounding her. Lena had fought, even in chains. Anna would too. Stay quiet, Eddie whispered, his voice barely audible. There's another way out, a drainage tunnel, 10 feet from here. Used it when I worked security. Anna nodded, her eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through cracks above. They crept toward the corner Eddie indicated, where a rusted grate covered a narrow tunnel. Sarah and Clara worked to pry it open, their fingers slipping on the slick metal. The footsteps resumed, closer now, accompanied by the click of a gun's safety. "Hurry," Anna hissed, helping Eddie lift the grate. It came free with a groan, revealing a dark, damp tunnel barely wide enough to crawl through. Clara went first, her small frame squeezing through, followed by Sarah. Anna pushed Eddie ahead, but as she turned to follow, a hand grabbed her from behind, yanking her back. She screamed, twisting, but the grip was iron. A hood was shoved over her head, the fabric suffocating. "Got her," a man's voice growled, not Harrington's, but rough, professional. Anna kicked, her boot connecting with something soft, but another pair of hands pinned her arms. She felt a sharp prick in her neck, and the world blurred, her limbs growing heavy. "Anna." Sarah's voice echoed, distant, as Anna was dragged away. The last thing she heard was the grate slamming shut, trapping her friends in the tunnel. Anna woke to the smell of damp earth and the ache of ropes biting into her wrists. Her head throbbed, the hood still over her face, muffling her senses. She was lying on a cold floor, the faint hum of machinery vibrating through the ground. She struggled, testing the ropes, but they held tight. "Stop squirming," a voice said, low and amused. The hood was ripped off, and Anna blinked against the dim light of a new chamber, larger than the last, with concrete walls and rusted pipes overhead. A man stood before her, tall and lean, his face obscured by shadows, but his eyes cold, wolfish matched the photo. John Harrington, older now, his hair gray, but his presence as menacing as ever. "You're persistent," Harrington said, circling her like a predator. "Just like Lena." She wouldn't shut up either. Anna's voice was hoarse, but defiant. "You killed her? For a mine?" Harrington's lips curled into a smirk. "Not just a mine, power. The uranium under your precious reservation fueled half the country's nukes in the 80s. You think we'd let a bunch of loudmouth activists ruin that?" Anna's stomach churned, but she held his gaze. "You buried them under the church, you and Westridge." Harrington's smirk faded. Westridge was a tool, a greedy preacher who thought he was saving souls. But you're a problem. Anna's eyes darted around the chamber, searching for a way out. Crates lined the walls, marked with faded military insignias. A table held papers, maps, and a radio crackling with static. This wasn't just a hideout, it was a command center. Before she could speak, another voice cut in, softer, familiar. "John, she's not worth it. Let her go." Anna's heart stopped as Father Daniel Cole stepped into the light, his priest's collar stark against his black shirt. His face was pale, conflicted, but his presence hit like a punch. "You," Anna spat, her voice shaking with betrayal. "You knew, all those years, preaching about faith, and you knew what your father did." Daniel's eyes dropped, shame flickering across his face. "He's my dad, Anna. I didn't know everything, not until you started digging. I tried to protect the church, protect him." Harrington laughed, a cold, barking sound. "Protect me? You're as spineless as Westridge, son. Always have been." Anna's mind reeled. Son? Daniel was Harrington's son. The pieces fell into place the way Daniel avoided her questions, his nervous glances at the church. He wasn't just complicit, he was family. "You covered for him," Anna said, her voice rising. "You let those women rot under your church, and you call yourself a priest?" Daniel flinched, but Harrington stepped closer, his gun glinting in the dim light. "Enough. You've seen too much, Anna. Just like Lena. Time to end this." Anna's heart pounded, but she forced a smile, defiant. "You think you can bury the truth again? My friends have the tape, the photos, the ledger. It's over, Harrington." His eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from above. Shouts, footsteps, the crack of gunfire. Anna's heart leapt. Sarah, Eddie, Clara. They'd made it out of the tunnel. Harrington spun toward the sound, his gun raised, and Anna seized her chance, kicking at his legs. He stumbled, cursing, and she rolled. The ropes loosening just enough to give her hope. The chamber door burst open, and Sarah charged in, a crowbar in her hands. "Anna," she shouted, swinging at Harrington. He dodged, but the distraction was enough. Anna wriggled free, her wrists raw, and scrambled to her feet. Eddie and Clara followed, Eddie's old Marine training kicking in as he tackled Harrington's guard, a burly man in tactical gear. "Get the papers," Anna yelled, diving for the table. She grabbed the maps, shoving them into her jacket as Harrington lunged for her. Sarah swung the crowbar again, catching his shoulder. He roared, dropping his gun, and Anna kicked it away, her pulse racing. Clara stood frozen, her eyes on Daniel. "You're his son?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "All this time, you lied?" Daniel's face crumpled, but he didn't move. "I didn't want this, Clara. I swear." Harrington laughed, clutching his shoulder. "You're all fools. You think you can stop this? The mine's still active. Redstone energy's bigger than you know." Anna's blood ran cold. "Still active? After 40 years? She grabbed a map from the table, her eyes scanning it. Red X's marked the reservation, labeled uranium extraction, ongoing. The truth hit like a freight train. The cover-up wasn't just about the past. It was happening now. Sarah grabbed Anna's arm, pulling her toward the door. "We've got what we need. Let's go." They ran, dragging Clara and leaving Daniel behind, his face a mask of guilt. Harrington's shouts echoed as they burst out of the warehouse, the night air sharp against their skin. Anna's truck was still there, untouched, a miracle in the chaos. They piled in, Eddie taking the wheel as gunfire cracked behind them. Anna clutched the map, her heart pounding. The truth was in her hands, but Harrington was still out there, and the mine was still poisoning her people's land. As they sped away, the warehouse's silhouette faded into the dark, but Anna knew this wasn't the end. The fight was just beginning. Anna Whitecloud's truck roared down the icy road, its tires slipping on the snow as Eddie Blackbear pushed it to its limit. The warehouse's silhouette shrank in the rearview mirror, but Anna's heart still pounded like a war drum, the map clutched in her hands a ticking bomb. Red X's marked the Blackfeet Reservation, labeled uranium extraction, ongoing proof that the conspiracy that killed Lena and 15 other women in 1982 was still alive, poisoning her people's land. Sarah Nguyen sat beside her, her face smudged with soot, the crowbar still gripped in her hands. Clara Hensley huddled in the back, her eyes wide with shock, the weight of her father's betrayal crushing her. The night air was thick with danger, and Anna knew John Harrington wasn't done with them. "We've got the map, the tape, the ledger," Anna said, her voice hoarse from the warehouse's damp air. "It's enough to bury Redstone energy, but Harrington's still out there." Sarah nodded, her eyes scanning the road. "We need to get this to the press. National outlets, not just local. If we go public, they can't touch us." Eddie's scarred hands tightened on the wheel, his voice low. "They'll try. Men like Harrington don't go down easy. I saw what he did in 80, worthless, cold as a snake. He's got friends, Anna. Big ones." Clara's voice trembled from the back. "What about my dad? If he's in those papers, he's finished. I don't know if I can do this." Anna turned, her eyes softening but firm. "Clara, your dad made his choices. He helped them kill Lena and the others. We're not doing this to hurt him. We're doing it for the truth, for our people." Clara wiped her eyes, nodding slowly. "Okay, for them." Anna's phone buzzed, and she flinched, expecting another threat. Instead, it was a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the church. Midnight. Bring the evidence. Come alone." Her stomach twisted. Harrington? Or someone else? She showed it to Sarah, who cursed under her breath. "It's a trap," Sarah said, her voice sharp. "No way you're going alone." Anna shook her head, her jaw tight. "If it's Harrington, this is our chance to end it. He's desperate means we're close. I'm going." Eddie glanced at her, his face grim. "You're crazy, Anna." "But I'm in. I owe Lena that much." Sarah sighed, resigned. Fine, but we're not letting you walk into a slaughter. We'll be close, ready to move. Anna nodded, her hand brushing the turquoise necklace. Lena's spirit felt alive in that moment, urging her forward. The church, where it all began, would be where it ended. The old church loomed under the moonlight, its broken steeple a jagged wound against the starry sky. Anna parked her truck 100 yards away, the snow crunching under her boots as she approached. The metal box from Tom's garage was tucked under her arm, heavy with the ledger, photos, and the tape that held Harrington's damning confession. Her heart pounded, but she kept her head high, Lena's necklace a steady weight against her chest. She'd sent the evidence to a journalist friend in Billings hours ago, with instructions to publish if she didn't check in by dawn. Whatever happened tonight, the truth was getting out. The church's door creaked as she pushed it open, the air inside cold and stale, thick with the ghosts of 40 years. Her flashlight swept over the pews, the altar, the hatch where Jake Miller had found the bones. A faint glow flickered near the altar lantern, casting shadows that danced like specters. A figure stood there, tall and broad, his face hidden in the dark. Anna Whitecloud, the voice said, low and rough. Not Harrington's. You brought the box? Anna's grip tightened on the metal case. Who are you? Where's Harrington? The figure stepped into the light, and Anna's breath caught. Sheriff Tom Hensley, his weathered face etched with guilt, his sheriff's star glinting on his chest. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands unsteady. It's just me, Anna. I sent the text. Psalm. Anna's heart sank, anger flaring. You're part of this, Tom. I saw you in the photo, loading crates while Lena and the others were murdered. Why should I trust you? Tom's shoulders slumped, his voice breaking. You shouldn't. I don't deserve it. I was there, Anna. I was young, stupid, scared. Harrington called the shots, and I followed orders. I've been carrying that shame for 40 years. Anna's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. Shame. You helped bury 16 women under this church. You let my family grieve with no answers. For what? Money? Power? Tom shook his head, his eyes wet. Fear. Harrington said if I talked, my family Clara, her mom would pay. I was a coward, Anna. But I'm done running. He pulled a small tape recorder from his pocket, its red light blinking. I've got something you need to hear. Anna hesitated, her hand hovering over the box. What is it? A confession, Tom said. Mine. Recorded last night. Everything I know about Silent Spring, Harrington, the uranium mine. Names, dates, places. I'm turning myself in, Anna. But you need to get this to the feds before Harrington finds you. Anna's heart raced. A confession from Tom could seal the case, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Why now, Tom? Why help me? Tom's voice was barely a whisper. Clara. She's all I've got left. When I saw her with you, I knew I couldn't keep lying. I owe her the truth. And I owe those women. Before Anna could respond, a loud crash echoed from the back of the church. The side door burst open, and John Harrington stormed in, his gray hair wild, his wolfish eyes blazing. Two men flanked him, their guns drawn, faces hard as stone. Anna's stomach dropped. She'd walked into a trap after all. You're predictable, Whitecloud. Harrington sneered, his voice dripping with venom. Just like your aunt, always sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. Anna clutched the box, her eyes darting to Tom. You set me up? Tom's face paled, his hands raised. No, Anna, I swear. Shut up, Hensley. Harrington snapped, his gun trained on Anna. You were always weak. Should have known you'd crack. Anna's mind raced, searching for a way out. Sarah, Eddie, and Clara were outside, waiting for her signal, but she was alone now, cornered. You can't bury this, Harrington, she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her. The evidence is out. Billings Chronicle has everything: ledger, tape, photos. You're done. Harrington's smirk faltered, but he recovered fast. You think a newspaper can stop me? Redstone Energy owns this town, this state. The mine's worth billions, and your little crusade won't change that. Anna's eyes flicked to the altar, where Tom's tape recorder sat, its red light still blinking. She needed to keep Harrington talking, buy time. Why the church? She asked. Why hide them there? Harrington laughed, a cold barking sound. Poetic, don't you think? A sacred place to bury your sins. Westridge was all too happy to help, for the right price. The women were a message across us, and you disappear. Anna's blood boiled, but she kept her voice calm. And the uranium? You're still poisoning our land, aren't you? Harrington's eyes narrowed, but before he could answer, a spark flared at the back of the church. A Molotov cocktail sailed through a broken window, shattering on the pews. Flames roared to life, licking the dry wood. Harrington's men cursed, spinning toward the fire, and Anna seized her chance, diving for the altar. She grabbed the tape recorder, shoving it into her jacket as Harrington shouted, "Get her." Gunfire cracked, and Anna ducked behind a pew, her heart pounding. The flames spread, the church's old timbers catching like kindling. Through the smoke, she saw Tom lunge at Harrington, tackling him to the ground. "Run, Anna," Tom yelled, his voice raw. Anna scrambled toward the side door, the heat searing her back. But a figure blocked her path, Father Daniel Cole, his face a mask of guilt and desperation. "Anna, wait," he said, his hands raised. "I didn't want this. I didn't know. You're his son." Anna spat, her voice shaking with rage. "You knew enough." Daniel's eyes dropped, but he stepped aside, letting her pass. "Go. Before it's too late." Anna burst outside, coughing as smoke filled her lungs. Sarah, Eddie, and Clara were there, Sarah holding a gas can, her face fierce. "We started the fire," Sarah said. "Figured it'd flush them out." Eddie pointed to a van parked 100 yards away. "Feds are on their way. We called them from the bar. Hold tight." But a gunshot rang out behind Anna, and she spun, her heart stopping. Tom staggered out of the church, blood soaking his shirt. Harrington stood in the doorway, his gun smoking, his face twisted with rage. "You traitor," he roared, raising the gun again. Tom collapsed in the snow, his eyes finding Anna's. "Take the tape," he gasped, tossing the recorder toward her. Anna caught it, her hands shaking, as Harrington fired again. But Eddie was faster, drawing an old service pistol from his coat and shooting back. Harrington ducked, cursing, as his men dragged him into the shadows. Anna knelt beside Tom, pressing her hands to his wound. "Stay with me, Tom. Help's coming." Tom's breath was ragged, his voice weak. "I'm sorry, Anna. For Lena. For all of them. There's a box in my safe. Names, dates, everyone involved. Get it?" Anna nodded, tears burning her eyes. "I will, I promise." Tom's eyes fluttered shut, his hand going limp. Sirens wailed in the distance, red and blue lights flashing through the snow. The church burned, its flames a funeral pyre for the secrets it had held for 40 years. The next week was a blur of headlines and chaos. Anna's journalist friend at the Billings Chronicle published the story, backed by the ledger, photos, and Harrington's taped confession. The headlines screamed across the nation, "Mass murder on Blackfeet land, government, church implicated in 40-year cover-up." Protests erupted in Redstone, Billings, even Washington, D.C., demanding justice for the 16 women. The church's ruins became a rallying point, its charred stones a symbol of truth unearthed. Anna sat in a federal courthouse in Billings, the metal box and Tom's tape on the table before her. The safe in Tom's office had yielded a final piece of evidence, a list of names, government officials, Redstone Energy executives, and military brass tied to Silent Spring. Harrington was arrested, his face plastered across every news channel, his wolfish grin gone. Father Daniel Cole turned himself in, confessing his role in hiding his father's crimes. The uranium mine, still active under Redstone Energy's shell companies, was shut down, its records seized by the FBI. Clara stood beside Anna in the courthouse, her face pale but resolute. "I can't believe Dad's gone," she whispered. "But he did the right thing," in the end. Anna squeezed her hand. He did. For you. For all of us. Sarah approached, her usual sharpness softened by exhaustion. The feds are moving fast. Harrington's singing, trying to cut a deal. Says he was just following orders. But with Tom's list, they're rounding up everyone involved. Eddie joined them, his limp more pronounced, but his eyes clear. Lena would be proud, Anna. You gave her voice back. Anna nodded, her throat tight. She'd spent the last days organizing a memorial for the 16 women, their names carved into a slab of turquoise stone at the reservation's edge. Lena Whitecloud, Nina Bearclaw, and 14 others, no longer forgotten. The memorial stood where the church once did, a testament to their fight. As Anna left the courthouse, her phone buzzed with a final text from her journalist friend. Stories live. The world knows. You did it. She smiled, but the weight of the fight lingered. The truth was out, but the scars of 40 years remained. Evaluation and real-world lessons. Dr. Maria Gonzalez, a historian specializing in Native American movements, called the case a grim reflection of history. In an interview, she said, "The murder of these 16 women mirrors countless untold stories of indigenous communities suppressed for profit. Their deaths were not isolated. They were part of a system that valued resources over lives." Anna Whitecloud's work reminds us that truth can be buried, but it always finds a way. The lesson is clear. Silence is a weapon, but persistence breaks it. The Blackfeet women fought for their land, their culture, and their people, and their legacy endures through those who carry their story forward. This case warns us to question authority, to listen to the silenced, and to hold the powerful accountable. No secret stays buried forever.